Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to be here. This is my first time ever doing a talk of any kind, especially to people in Brockton. So I just want to utilize this time that I have here to bring as much value as I can to you. I know for me, the number one thing that I hold dear to me is time. And so when anybody gives me even 5, 10, 30 minutes of their time, I try to utilize it as best as possible to try to bring you value. So today, this morning, I want to talk about a little bit of how I came to be, of how I, got and chose my career field, chose my career path, and hopefully that'll bring a little bit of value to what you're seeing today. But I want to give you a little bit of background of how I got to my position where I am today, and hopefully it'll help you to make a decision where you want to be, whether that's today, tomorrow, or in the future. So just like you, I grew up in Brockton. I graduated from Brockton High School, but before I graduated from Brockton High School, I had a dilemma. Because I was born in a different country, I didn't have the same resources as people that were born here. And that was a concern mainly for my parents. If you are not born in the US, you already know this. But for those of you who don't know, when you're not born in the US, you do have some resources that are limited to you. One of them being, at the time in 2012, could you even go to college? If you did go to college, what kind of resources would you have? Would you have financial help? Would you have people to support you? And all of those questions left unanswered because I didn't have a community that I could count on. I didn't have people that I could talk to. And so that limited my decisions, what I was able to do. Thankfully, in 2013, Obama signed the DREAM Act, and that basically gave children that came here undocumented, one of them being work authorization and another being social security number. Before that time, we didn't have a social security, we didn't have a work authorization, we didn't have any of that. So my parents were very worried about my future. They're like, hey, if you can't go to college, where are you gonna go? And so they basically forced me to go to a technical school, and I didn't like it. I was a very academic person. I was somebody that liked books. I liked going to school. I was very academic focused. However, that wasn't an option for me at the time. And so when I did finally get the opportunity and I signed up for the DREAM Act, I got it. And then all of a sudden, whoa, college is an option for me again. And so that reignited everything again. And I was excited for it. I was so relieved that I didn't have to rely on working with my hand, because I like working with this and not with this. So I went to college, and unfortunately it did not work out. I went full-hearted thinking like, I'm gonna go to computer science. I think I'm gonna do cybersecurity, but I'm not sure. Once I got to college and they told me that they could not give me federal funding because I am not a US citizen. And then therefore I was just like, okay, then I guess my life is over. I have nothing else to live for. In the real world, we have to adapt in our favor. We have to play the cards that we're dealt with. For me, there was no use of complaining or blaming whatever it was. It was simply just, here's what it is. What can I do? So at 15 actually, I went to my first IT class, fell in love with it, and that's all I wanted to do. But I tried a bunch of different other things. I tried being a mechanic, didn't like that. I was dirty all the time. I tried being an electrician. There was way too many schematics to read. I tried to be a cryptographer. You needed I think it was calculus 5 to do that. And I was like, that's not an option. So I tried a bunch of different things. For me, I had to define what failure meant, and I had to define what success meant. And to each and every single person, you have to make that decision yourself. The view of success and the view of failure to you looks very different than your neighbor, even your parents, or anybody else. I didn't want to live for other people. I wanted to live for me, for myself, and be as different as possible. Not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of, I'm me, I have a specific set of skills and I want to make it better. What ended up happening is I got my first certification at 16 years old. I started working in the field. I got a bunch of experience. I started working for other businesses, and I realized that there was a gap in the demand that was happening around the world, basically. When I was dealing with computers and dealing with people's information, I was just like, man, people are just giving us their devices. If there was anybody here that had ill intentions, they could easily get into it. And so there's no protection, there's no guidelines. At the time, there was no framework that was implemented into businesses or even for personal people. so what I did was, in my mind, I was thinking, man, there should be guidelines. There should be some kind of framework that people should follow. One of those frameworks was called Zero Trust, which I implement to all of my business today. There's another one called the NIST framework for technology. And so knowing these things, I was able to, okay, like I have all the tools that I need. I have all the experience that I need. I started helping businesses. And at the time, I was working 2 full-time jobs and the demand kept getting bigger and bigger. It got to a point where it got so big that I was doing that, the little that I was doing as a business was paying me more than both full-time jobs that I had. And so I had this going for me and I was like, man, what am I gonna do with this? Knowing that, I thought I was the king of the world. I could take on anything. I'm that guy. And then I got deeply humbled when I tried to open up my business in a different state. I tried to go to Arizona. And so I went to Arizona, drove myself there. And I was like, I'm gonna start my business there because over there, everything, the cost is low. The tech that's coming out of there is crazy. And I think it's gonna boom. I get there and within 3 months, I go bankrupt. So I was just like, man, yeah, so maybe I'm not that guy. Or maybe I'm not the person that I thought I was, but I tried. And the people that I was helping before, they couldn't find anybody else to help them with their small business. No company that was helping small business. It was companies that was helping big companies. And if you wanted help, you'd have to pay a lot of money to get IT support. When I came back and they were still waiting for me, I came back and in 2 weeks that I was here, I recovered all the money that I lost when I was in Arizona. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do my business, it has to be back here. So I came back here and I opened up a brick and mortar store. Again, thinking I'm that guy. Everybody needs access to technology. So I got refurbished devices, and anybody that had money, they could get technology. They didn't have to be rich, spend a lot of money to get a little bit of technology. I was like, with whatever they have, the community is gonna have access to these things, and that's what I wanted. But fast forward a couple years and the pandemic hit, it failed. I say these things not because I think that they failed, but because I was willing to try. My definition of failure isn't that it didn't work out, is that you never tried in the first. So I try to, if I have an idea, I try it and I try it again. And if it fails, it failed. But at least I know that the reason it failed wasn't because I didn't try. It was because it was simply a bad plan or the market or whatever it is. And so I have to at least try. In the beginning, it was just broad. It was like whoever needs help, whether it's IT, whether it's computers, whether it's photography, video editing, whatever it is, I was willing to do it because one, I had the time, I had the knowledge, I had the resources. So why not? I was doing it and making some money, and that was all. But I wanted to have a business where I could grow, where I could hire people, where I could delegate, where I can learn new things, where I can have resources, where I can abundance of knowledge and just apply it to one thing. And that's when all those failures happened. I was just learning how to make the business better. And the business that I have today, it wouldn't exist without me failing for the past 7 years. For me, success is knowing that everything that I put my heart and soul into is working at 100% efficiency. If it's working at 100% efficiency, to me, that's what success looks like. It doesn't matter the monetary value, is it working? And so that's where I have today a business that helps other businesses with their IT support and cybersecurity. So that way they're in compliance, that way their workflow is working good, and that way they don't have to worry late at night like, man, is my data okay? Is my staff okay? Are people authorizing my things when they shouldn't be? And we have now all the tools and resources to implement to all these businesses because I made so many connections and made so many networks and things like that. So that's where I'm at today. And I'm managing that business and I'm helping businesses and I'm helping people just answer any kind of technological problem. And so that's kind of my background and that's where I'm here today. I know I said a lot of gibberish, but I want to know and hear back from you if there's any questions or if there's anything that I said throughout the last couple minutes that either triggered you or like you're concerned about, that I can help you, guide you, or just tell you about what happened with me. Because I don't like to tell you or give anybody advice that I wouldn't take myself or haven't taken myself, but it's gotten me to where it's at today. And thankfully it's in a good place. So if the floor is open to you guys. The question was, how many years did I study? I had a natural talent, computers and technology and things of that nature. However, that's not enough. When I was in high school, I probably studied 4 or 5 years getting certifications. So A plus certification, Net plus certification, Security plus certification, CCNA. It takes years of not only studying, but also the practice part. The practice, you actually learn a lot more than when you're studying. You kind of get to know like what's important and what's not. You can kind of just focus on what is important and kind of just know the stuff that you need to know, like for the certifications. But for the real world, you get to practice what is needed day to day. So computer science is not for the faint of heart. As you know, there's a lot of coding, there's a lot of general ideas, theories that you have to know. And those are well and good that you have a foundation for when you're going out into the field. And it is very difficult to try to master all at once. However, my approach was taken little by little and try to learn as much as possible. For me, if I didn't have a good solid foundation of how things work, it would be very difficult to be in the position that I am today. Because I know now how things work, I have kind of just a fundamental understanding of how everything works, right? If today I saw this screen behind me, I was like, I've never touched this screen particularly in my life. However, I know what it is. I know it's plugged into an electrical outlet. I know it's plugged into the network. I know it has an LCD screen. I know it's probably touchscreen because of the way that it's set up. So I have a fundamental idea without never even touching the technology piece itself. And that's the same thing with websites, with programs, with anything of that nature. Once you know the fundamentals, you can get your way around anything. Is it difficult? Yes. However, once you learn it, you'll never have to learn it again. So the only certification that I needed to get my foot in the door was an A plus certification. It's the CompTIA A plus certification, and that's basically, it's an overview of technology. It gives you just a general knowledge of how you can work with networks, computers, tablets, everything all at once. And so that was the one that got my foot in the door. Once I got that, I really wanted to specialize in something. And for me, once you go into the computer science field, you can literally go anywhere with it. It's just so broad that you can literally go anywhere from it. For me, what identified the most with me was cybersecurity, because nobody was doing it at the time. One. Two, it was something that fascinated me. I was just like, how is somebody from a different country accessing stuff from here? And what are we doing about it? Can I stop this from happening? Can I do something about it? And so I really got into the hacking part of it. I got really, really excited about that. Don't do it, but it's fun. For me, it was fun. I was never trying to do anything malicious. I was just curious. So you get to find out how the dark web works, how the IP addresses ping, how a VPN works and things of that nature, and how you protect yourself. And when I was in high school, I was very curious. I won't go into details about that. For me, choosing what I do, I am a business owner, but I'm also part of the foundation board member here at Massasoit. I'm also a volunteer at my church. I'm also a great singer. I like to play the guitar. I like to play soccer. So there's a lot of aspects of your life, and you shouldn't make your career the only thing that is important in your life. It's good to have a good balance of everything. And yeah, your career might not be taking off, because for me, I was practically living at my store for 2 years, working 14 hours, just trying to stay alive in it. And that was not what I wanted my whole life to be, but I knew it was a temporary thing that I was doing to try to make it better. And if it got better, great. And if it didn't, oh well. But that was just one aspect of my life. But I had a great relationship with my family. I had a great relationship with my community. I was giving back to the community. I was volunteering. So there's just so many things that we could be doing instead of just focusing on the career. But all of those aspects are just as important as the other. So I was doing computer repairs, cell phone repairs. I got a certification from a local school for, I think it was cellular and tablet master technician certification, something like that. For me, because college wasn't an option, unfortunately, it was certification. So I was just hungry for something. Of course, I was actually helping the teacher doing the work, because, they had the schematics and everything, but people never touched the phone in their lives in that class. And I was already doing repairs, already opening up computers. And these are things that I was volunteering to do. When people ask me, how do you get experience at such a young age? I did it without any money. I did it without getting paid. I did it with like getting paid like under the table, or people would give me like some tips for helping them out. And so that got me the experience that I needed to put it into the workforce. And to this day, people are still coming to me to ask for my services because of the experience that I've got throughout the years. I always did already have refurbished devices. I just wasn't advertising it. So when people were asking me like, hey, what computer do you recommend? I'm like, man, you can get a brand new one for $800, but I can get you the similar computer with actually better specifications for about half the price. And they're like, oh, I want that. And they're like, okay, did that. And then I made friends with the refurbishing company, and I basically was helping them. So I made two friends, made one with the refurbishing company and another one with the recycling company. And the recycling company would call me whenever a big company would be shutting down and they would be recycling all the computers. And I would go there and just get piles of computer that are like, it would be like 400 to like 600 computers at a time, and just open it up, take everything out, put it back, and then, keep it going down the line. And then boom, they were selling those computers overseas. But if I wanted to like, hey, I want to buy like 20 of these computers, they're like, here you go. Like, this is the price, that's what it is. And then I could sell it for a markup, which is still half the price of what retail would be going for. And then that's how I was able to sell refurbished devices. And so I was adding that to my arsenal of services that I was offering. I'm always learning how I can bring value to the community and the people that come to me. I never say I can't help you. I always say I'm going to help you this way, or I know somebody that can help you. And so that's, networking is huge, 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 huge. I wish I actually started networking as the primary source of when I opened up my business. And probably the number one thing that I wish I started sooner is networking with peers, networking with teachers, networking with whoever it was that wanted to be a part of the network, and just have that conversation like, hey, this is what I offer. If you know anybody, refer them over to me. Or, hey, if you have any resources, I'd love to collab with you. What services do you offer? What solution do you offer? And then we can collab on that, and we both, get up from there. In this area, if we're talking about Brockton, Randolph, South Shore, that area, there's not too many, to be completely honest. There's not a lot of tech companies in the area. However, if we reach to Boston, we got a lot of jobs availability there. Two, a lot of jobs now are remote. So it doesn't matter if you're here in Brockton or in Arizona, you can apply for that same position and get a remote job, because a lot of people are looking for remote jobs. If you're looking for something to start off with, I would look at internships. I would look at volunteer jobs. I would look at basically any companies in the area that offer tech jobs. Even if they're not hiring, ask if they're looking for an intern. Ask if they're looking for some volunteers. Ask if they're looking for somebody just to do something in the off hours. At least that'll get you your foot in the door. And then from there, you can expand out. Even if you don't get paid, you'll get the experience that you'll need to actually get a better position somewhere else. When I first started, they were old, man. They were like Windows, like 2000 computers, Windows XP computers, that just box towers, Windows towers. And I would just, open it up and start playing around with it. The other things that I was working on is laptops. So I would open up laptops, and I hated working on laptops. There are just so many screws inside of a laptop. Just to get the back off, it would take like 36 screws just to take it off. And even then, you have to flip it around, take out the keyboard, and then take out. So I was working on those kind of devices when I first started out. And then anything that came my way, I was just opening it. And what I would do is I would find old computers, or people would send me old computers that they're not using anymore. Just open it up and start playing around with it. And like, once you opened up probably 100 to 200 computers, you kind of know how everything works inside. And there's a lot of the same components across the board. Doesn't matter what brand it is, doesn't matter what it's advertising as. Once you open it up, the guts look about the same. The only thing that's different is probably the operating system and the programs that are inside it. But internally, it all looked the same. There are some computers that have professional specifications. So I like to separate them between consumer products and business products. Consumer products is what you find in like Costco and like Best Buy, Staples, things of that nature. And business computers, you have to buy direct from manufacturer normally, or you have to get them refurbished from somewhere else. So like schools, they put out a bid for certain computers directly with the manufacturer or with a reseller, and they get business type computers. And the difference would be, one, the quality is different, completely different. Two, the price is completely different. Like a $400 Best Buy computer is like a $1,200 business computer. Internally though, it looks very much the same. It's just the quality of the exterior, and sometimes the processor is different. That's about it. So for me, it's all about data protection. And there's only one framework that stood out from the rest, which was Zero Trust. So Zero Trust takes the old famous trust but verify, and they implemented that into a digital framework. In every single time you try to access something in the business, it asks for your credentials. It asks for you to verify who you are. So if you're in the sales department trying to access stuff from billing department, you don't have that access. You don't have that credential. And in small businesses, because they don't have the control, it's pretty much open. Think of it this way. You go to a mom and pop shop, there's 3 people working there. They kind of have to share the same resources, right? But it's kind of just open to them. So let's say they have a folder where everything from the company is there, and you have 3 people. Those 3 people will always have access to those folders. And so they have access to everything. However, what if one of those people want to start their own company doing the same thing? What are they gonna do? They can, if they're malicious enough, they can copy that folder, put it in a pen drive, and then they have a list of all their clients, goes home and sends in a mass email to all those clients offering the same services for less money, and now you just lost all of your business. So in that instance, we implement a Zero Trust to basically separate the kind of access that everybody gets in the business. And this is normal for a corporate setting, so like schools and like big corporate companies, that's normal. But for small businesses, they don't have that. And if they were to implement that, it will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they need ongoing IT, and they would need to hire somebody for that. They would need a server, and they would need to manage that server and things of that nature. We got a way that we could outsource that solution for them at a fraction of the cost. And that's why, a lot of businesses come after me, especially if they're in compliance, because if they're a compliance-based business like a CPA or a lawyer's office and things of that nature, they need to have some kind of protection or some kind of access control. And because we implement Zero Trust in every business that we do, that is included as part of our services. And that's why I chose. When you go directly to manufacturer, it actually depends on a lot of things. You can actually sometimes get it cheaper than the store itself. But if you're looking at a specific computer with specific specifications, and you go Best Buy version or directly to manufacturer version, if it's a high-end computer, they have the professional version of a processor or a memory. So you can get a generic one. It has the 16 cores in it, just like all the other i7s. But if you get the professional version, it has security built into it. And so it has more of a cost to get it. And so that's where the price difference goes into place, and quality of the product that you're getting is also better. So like this laptop right here, like I could get a Lenovo Yoga at Best Buy just like this for around 800 bucks. But this is a Lenovo X1 Carbon. And so this is made out of carbon fiber. It has a professional version of the i7 processor, and this costs $2,500. When you buy things from Apple, you're getting a higher quality product. Even whether you're using it or not, you're still gonna have to pay that premium price for it, right? So that's kind of like the difference. So cybersecurity is basically a framework, security and policies and procedures to secure an environment, whether that's, and you can, again, there's specific sectors that you can go into it. Mine is more of a general sense where I am looking at it from like an overview, and I am looking at what the vulnerabilities are and what the protection needs and what the compliance are needed. And I implement that and that's what we call cybersecurity. But there's other sectors to it as well. So you can go specifically into like the vulnerability testing and just test out all the vulnerabilities, and you can hack into, like legally hack into a company to figure out what they have going on. And so we do that when we're assessing a business. We go in, we do a vulnerability assessment, take a look at all the risk that's going on inside the business, and then we work our way backwards. Like, hey, we found all this stuff in your network. You're probably not even aware of it, but this is the risk that you have. This is how much it would cost if you had a data breach, and this is how much it's going to cost to protect you. What do you want to do? Do you want to manage this risk yourself as a small business, or do you want to delegate it to us? If they want to delegate it to us, then we come up with a plan and we implement all these cybersecurity practices, policies, and procedures into that business, and then they don't have to worry about it anymore. But if they want to manage it themselves, they at least know what the risks are and the vulnerability are. That way they aren't blinded if something happens to them. So her question was, for computer science students, do you think it's better to have a general knowledge of everything or to specialize in one or two areas? It depends on what you want to do. And I know that's pretty vague, but I'll help you out a little bit. So when I was looking into the job fields and I was looking at what I wanted to do, I kind of worked my way backwards. I went to the job fields and I looked at the descriptions of what they were looking for. And based on the descriptions that they were looking for, I was like, okay, I need this, this, and that. And then that's when I decided to really hone in on something. If you feel passionate about a certain subject, like data protection, how databases work, or how networks work, there is a specialty in each one of those fields. So if you feel pulled, or if you feel called, or if you feel comfortable in a certain environment, double down on that, because you'll get to do more of what you like and less of what you don't like, if that makes sense.
This was amazing. I hope you're going to join us again. I hope you'll.
Yes.
We have to have a thought.
Yes. And if you want to find me anywhere, just look up Truly Unlimited, and you can find me on socials and anything like that. And you can always send me an email or a message. I like to respond to as many people as I can.